Welcome back, Chattanooga. You're listening to Plus with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and Nooganomics.com. NFC Championship or the Conference Championship weekend is over. The AFC Conference Championship weekend is over. Interesting Conference Championship weekend. No, we got back-to-back blowouts. We got two blowouts, and I'm not gonna lie, I expected the first one. Right, last week. Talked about it. I thought it was a little weird. Vegas had the line for Atlanta and Green Bay at 4.5. And just looking at the weapons that Atlanta has that Green Bay doesn't have, to me, it seemed fairly obvious. I thought it was going to be 2 touchdowns. Turned out to be about 3. But I didn't. That one I saw coming. Right? What New England did to Pittsburgh, I did not see coming in large part because I thought there was a little bit more fight going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I didn't think the Steelers were going to win. Tough to pick against Brady, but I honestly thought that there was going to be some more fight there. But I'm not going to lie. I had some interesting thoughts on football because I was listening to a podcast by Malcolm Gladwell. He's an economist and also a guy that says really smart stuff a lot. He has a podcast called Revisionist History. I think that you should listen to it if you want to learn about, everything. But also he's got some really interesting sports stories on there as well. But he mentioned in his podcast a couple of economists, a couple of guys. David Sally used to be a goalkeeper, became this really awesome soccer stats guru, and Chris Anderson, who is a behavioral analyst. And these two guys have this theory about sports. One is that the sport can be a strong link sport or a weak link sport, right? So you've got basketball, which is definitely a strong link sport. You watched Cleveland last year. LeBron James wills Cleveland to an NBA title because he is the strongest player on the floor. He is the best player on the floor. You can do that in basketball. If you've got Michael Jordan, you're winning 6 rings. If you've got Kobe and Shaq, you're winning, right? Like it's pretty obvious. If you've got the best guys, you're winning. In soccer, it's different. Soccer is a weak link sport. It's not necessarily that you've got the best guys that makes you the most capable of winning. In fact, in a lot of ways, it is the opposite. If you have the best weak players, which means if my weak player is better than your weak player, I'm more likely to win. And we saw this also last year with Leicester City winning the English Premier League, which I know most of you did not follow and do not care about. But Leicester City was like a 5,000-to-1 favorite to win the English Premier League. Okay, like nobody saw that coming. There isn't even a comparison to describe Leicester City winning the English Premier League. It's like if, it's like if, I can't even pick a team horrible enough off the top of my head. It's like if, and then boy, I'm going to waste a ton of time thinking about this one. It would be comparable, right, to like if Duke made the college football playoff and then won the whole thing, and they won against Alabama. Like that would be what that would be like if Duke did that. And even then, like I can't even really, that still doesn't really cover it, but that's mostly what it would be like, right? Because Leicester City did not have the best players. They were an overwhelmingly average team. People expected the losing to start happening at some point. Like, yeah, the wheels are going to come off the cart. Cinderella's going to break the glass slipper, and she's going to have to go home at midnight. You were expecting it, and then it never came because Leicester City's worst players were not worse than everybody else's worst players. It's a weak link sport. Football's an interesting blend of the two, right? Football, if you have a great quarterback, you're a contender. But every other position outside of quarterback, it's not if you have the best players. Because Tom Brady doesn't have an elite wide receiver. And for weeks of the season, when Julio Jones was injured, neither did Matt Ryan. It's not about if you've got the strongest players outside of quarterback. It's are my weakest players less weak than your weakest players? And both of these games did a really good job of giving an example of that. You're listening to AM 1240, Noogaradio.com, Clutch with Keon Rose, talking about the conference championship games, couple of blowouts, and here's why. You look at Atlanta and Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers playing at an MVP level. Matt Ryan playing at an MVP level. So those two guys negate each other, right? When you start to look around at the weakest players for Atlanta and the weakest players for Green Bay, Atlanta's weak players are better than Green Bay's. And it's by a very wide margin, which is why they won that game as much as they did. You cannot give a team like Atlanta too many cracks with the football and not expect them to score. Green Bay's defense was too injured and too young and too inexperienced, and offensively, look, the best guy out on the field offensively outside of Aaron Rodgers was Jordy Nelson. That's right. The guy with 2 busted ribs was consistently the best wide receiver on the football team. That is a problem. And there's no way you're going to beat a loaded Atlanta offense that features at the top Julio Jones, but you've got Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, Taylor Gabriel, Mohamed Sanu. I mean, you keep going. Like, Mohamed Sanu is one of the quote-unquote weaker players of all of the skill positions, and he had a fantastic game. Austin Hooper has been playing out of his gourd. Like, you look at what Atlanta brought to the table. All of their weakest players were simply far better than Green Bay's. And the same thing happened later when the Patriots beat the Steelers 36-17. The weakest players for the Steelers, especially once Le'Veon Bell went down. Pittsburgh's not a well-rounded team. I don't like teams where you can take away 1 or 2 guys and the team's done. That's not a team that I think should realistically be considered to be a Super Bowl contender. And I felt like that last year with Carolina. Like, I liked Cam a lot, but I couldn't take the Panthers over Denver simply because you take Cam Newton away, you take the Panthers away. You take Greg Olsen away outside of that quarterback position, you take the Panthers away. Like, there wasn't anybody on that offense truly terrifying, and the worst Panthers were not better than the worst Broncos. Especially on the defensive side of the ball, like where you see a team that's capable of losing Josh Norman, and their secondary looks like they forgot how to play. So you can't have a team where I take away 1 or 2 guys and I really legitimately call you a contender. And the Patriots walk through the Steelers like they always walk through the Steelers because they're always more well-rounded than the Steelers. Single elimination tournaments don't necessarily reward the best teams. They reward the most consistent teams, which is why having the best quarterback is important, because he's going to consistently be able to deliver. And so now we end up with Atlanta and New England in the Super Bowl, and those are the 2 most high-powered offenses in the league. Those are the 2 most consistent teams in the league on both sides of the ball. And you can take away Julian Edelman, and the Patriots will still be able to score on you by finding Chris Hogan off of a flea flicker. I mean, nobody saw that one coming, like the big day out of Chris Hogan, right? But that's the way that New England plays, and Atlanta plays that same style too. Julio Jones did not get stopped yesterday because Green Bay wasn't capable of it. But if you recall, the first 5 or 6 games of the season, Julio Jones was not there. Julio Jones was getting stopped a lot, and he didn't look great. And Atlanta was fine. Atlanta was fine. You can take away Julio Jones and expect the Patriots, by the way, in the Super Bowl to take away Julio Jones. Don't expect a big day out of Julio Jones, but it's not going to matter. That's my point, that this game is going to be won and lost by the Chris Hogans and Taylor Gabriels of the game. Okay, yesterday we saw it, and we're going to see it again. If the weak links if New England's got weaker weak links than Atlanta, that's the kind of game we're going to see, right? And Aaron Rodgers and Ben Roethlisberger, you're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240, NoogaRadio.com. I'm just going to shift to the quarterbacks a little bit here, the losing quarterbacks specifically. They both got blasted by the media today for criticizing their teammates. Ben Roethlisberger had an interesting quote, and he got blasted a little bit by Luke Kerr Denning of USA Today. Basically thought that Ben Roethlisberger took his criticism of his teammates a little bit too far. Ben Roethlisberger said this via the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and I quote, "There were missed opportunities, whether we didn't execute well enough, whether plays weren't made by me or other guys, and at times it felt maybe it was too big for some of the young guys." And he continued, "We talk about how sometimes it's just one play here, one play there. Tonight we didn't make those plays. Was the moment too big? I don't know. We need to make every single play in a game like this, in a moment like this. Hopefully, this is a learning game for guys to understand this isn't promised to anybody. Tomorrow isn't promised. Just to make the playoffs isn't enough." And so you've got that quote by Ben Roethlisberger. He was criticized for that, for basically just unloading on his teammates, even though he did also take responsibility for playing poorly there, might I note. And then earlier today, the Herd with Colin Cowherd, Christine Leahy, she also took umbrage to what Aaron Rodgers said about a lot of the rookies and the young guys playing. He was asking the same question: is the moment too big for the guys on this team that haven't been here before? And I don't think it's inappropriate for them to mention this at all. Again, keeping in mind that football is, by and large, a weak link sport. Questioning the weak links on your team is not wrong at the end of a game. Especially because of the nature of this sport, which football is a challenge sport. If I want to inspire you, I challenge you. I challenge you to fight. I challenge you to come back stronger. Okay? And I need these young guys to know this was not okay. You didn't play well today. You didn't, and it cost us the game. Green Bay had multiple opportunities to come into halftime with maybe 7, even 10 points, and they ended up being shut out going into the half. Okay, it was 17-0 going into halftime, and they had a few opportunities. And those mistakes that were costly were made by a lot of their young players. And I don't think it's inappropriate for Aaron Rodgers to blast those guys because they're the weak links on the team. And look, you're going to be playing with them next year. The argument that Luke Kurdenny made on USA Today, the For the Win blog that they have, was that you drive a wedge between you and your teammates when you just blast into the media. I don't think so. I think you challenge them. And nobody wants to be blasted in front of the media, and it's not a great feeling, and it's not something you should do all the time. I'm not a fan of it myself, except that if the right people do it in the right situations, it has the desired effect. We watch it all the time. Greg Popovich blasts the Spurs into the media all the time. He's never criticized for it. Why? Because he wins. Because it has the desired effect. He's the right guy, and he does it at the right time. That's pretty much all it is. Right? We've seen it again and again. If the right guy says it at the right time. LeBron James last year had a bunch of really passive-aggressive tweets and Instagram posts directed at his teammates in the middle of the season, and it was bizarre to everyone because it's like, we know who you're talking about, LeBron. Why are you doing this? And it's because LeBron James is the right guy doing it in the right form of media at the right time that you are able to do that. And you've got to find a way to get these guys to pick up the slack. Now, part of it, too, is like, I don't know anything that you can do that'll make any of this better. Like telling those guys that they could have played better wasn't going to make this better. The Green Bay had so many holes, and some of them were due to injury, that there was just no way. Watch that game. I did not go to the Georgia Dome because I'm not a rich person. I couldn't go inside. But I was across the street at a sports bar with Patrick McCoon, actually, who is a local sports writer. And we were just talking about the game and enjoying the festivities in Atlanta when they won. Because that is arguably, and we had this conversation in the car ride on the way back, this is arguably one of the most important sports moments for Atlanta in the last 20 years. It's the most important sports moment in Atlanta since the Olympics. It is. The game, as far as games that happened in the city of Atlanta, the most important. And also the Falcons are one of those teams where who really hates the Falcons, honestly? Who are you if for some reason the Falcons are the team that you hate? So anyway, the Patriots end up being the favorites entering the Super Bowl. They are a 3-point favorite, which I think sounds about right. Again, picking against Brady is really, really difficult. But I will say this about this, because I try and keep my picks close to my chest until, game day. But I got 2 weeks to sit on this, and there's just no way that's going to happen. There's no way I'm going to keep it. And I will start leaking where I'm leaning today. Right? I will start right now. I will say this about the Patriots. The Patriots play in the AFC. What do I mean by that? You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240, NoogaRadio.com. The Patriots play in the AFC. The AFC is the weaker of the two conferences. Yep, there I said it. The AFC is the weaker of the two conferences because, and here's the thing. We talk about the greatness of the Patriots, and the Patriots have done a really good job of winning a lot of really close games in Super Bowls. And then I look at I went back and looked at all of their championship runs, and all of those games have not just been close. They have been super duper close. And every Super Bowl in between then has not been as close as when the Patriots make it to the Super Bowl, which I thought was fascinating. And I had to look into it a little bit more because the Patriots play in one of the weakest divisions in football. So they're pretty much always guaranteed their playoff spot. And then and this is not to take away from the Patriots. So I'm about to make all the Boston fans down here mad somehow. There are enough of you bandwagoners I can make you mad. The point is, look, they play in the AFC East. And in the AFC East, featuring the Jets, the Bills, and the Dolphins. 3 teams basically stalling in futility for the greater part of the last 15 to 20 years. Right? Just absolutely miring in how awful they are. They just cannot seem to get out of their own way relatively. The Jets and the Bills, it feels like they fire a coach every single season. I don't know who even wants to coach for those teams at this point anymore, because you know that your job is a short job. You will show up, you will fail to win for these awful franchises, and then you will be fired. And then the Dolphins have just been incompetent, and the Dolphins for the longest time ever. Right? You get nice seasons like this one, but overall, no. Then, overwhelmingly, and I cannot stress this enough, the AFC overall is weaker. When you look at the NFC, a lot of the divisions tend to be more bunched together. They're more tightly wound, and then on top of that, they all beat each other up during the regular season, and then I think go through a little bit more of a brutal process throughout the postseason. You look at the Patriots' Super Bowl victories. They have no victories greater than 4 points. They have won 3 of their 4 Super Bowls by 3 points. Okay? And none of those plays, by the way, made by Brady. And this is going to sound like just a Brady hack job, and it isn't. This is not the takeaway from Tom Brady. But when I look at the Patriots, I feel a little bit more comfortable picking against the Patriots in a Super Bowl specifically. Because when it comes to that, right, a team designed to beat the Patriots can beat the Patriots. The New York Giants, both times, were designed to beat the Patriots. It's all about how you play defensively. How you are able to get to Tom Brady, get him to rush his throws, get him to play in a way that's helter-skelter. You cannot let Tom Brady sit back there and pick you apart. You can't play in any kind of zone coverage. He will level you. He will level you. And the Patriots have not blown anybody out in any of these Super Bowls. So there's no reason for me to go, okay, Vegas has got the Patriots by 3, and so it's chiseled in stone. New England has got this Super Bowl, especially when I look at what Atlanta's been able to do defensively when they were able to get after Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers, as I've mentioned in weeks past, is, in my opinion, the best quarterback to do it. And it's the mobility that Aaron Rodgers has combined with his passing ability that nobody else has. The mobility makes it different. And Aaron Rodgers was not getting away from Atlanta pressure. They were sending it from all over the place. And it's not like Aaron Rodgers is some kind of gunslinging dummy. It's not like he's a guy that's all cowboy shooting from the hip. He understands defenses as well. It's what makes him a great quarterback also. So I'm looking at Brady, and I'm going, Brady doesn't have that mobility. And Atlanta's a defense that is specifically designed to get after the quarterback, okay? They do have their weaknesses in coverage. But if you look at that, then you have to go, they're using their ability to get after the quarterback to cover up their weaknesses in coverage. I don't think they're going to get picked apart by Tom Brady the way that Brady picked apart Pittsburgh. Because Pittsburgh did not really get after him. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on M1240 and NewRadio.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 Radio News, Russell Stroud reporting. 2 men and a woman have been arrested after police say they set up a devious scheme. The police said that they set up the sale of a PlayStation console on the Let Go app, and then when they met the buyer, they would rob the buyer, mug him. The plan didn't quite go off without a hitch, though. The buyer realized that they were being robbed and tried to call police. They ran away, and a scuffle broke out. Knives were pulled. Eventually, a car chase ensued. A gold Tahoe was a vehicle that the alleged robbers were driving. Both vehicles got stopped at a train track by a passing train, and a fight broke out there in the road. Knives were pulled, and car doors were slammed, and hoods were banged on with fists. Eventually, though, the police arrived and arrested the 3 individuals. A man was shot by a woman in East Lake. The twist is the woman is not going to be facing any charges, but the man is. The woman, police say, fired in self-defense after a domestic dispute, and the man already had charges pending against him. It was going on in the Tennessee Valley. It's going on in Duke Radio News.
Cloudy skies will continue through your nighttime. Not as breezy. Overnight lows near 40. For your Tuesday, looking better with more afternoon sunshine. Highs into the upper 50s tomorrow night. Lows upper 30s, lower 60s Wednesday with some afternoon clouds. Just a slight chance of a late shower. Come to Larry's world-famous buffet in Trenton. Open Thursday through Sundays, featuring some of the finest home-style cooking around. Larry also offers catering. That's Larry's just off 559 in Trenton. And I'm Storm Team 12's Chief Meteorologist, Patrick. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
$25 goes by quickly these days, and 25 cents still just a quarter. 25 is the years of experience Schultz & Associates puts behind filing your tax return quickly, correctly, and electronically. Schultz & Associates.
Hi, I'm Jeff Chapman with this question. Are you concerned about getting a timely refund this year? There is a solution. Ask Schultz & Associates about Refund Advantage. It's a no-interest loan that allows you to get your tax refund quickly, but some tax refund product fees do apply, so make sure and understand the details. You can receive your refund quickly via check or prepaid credit card. Ask about Refund Advantage when you visit Schultz & Associates, 6310 Body Oaks Drive, or call 899-1130. Schultz & Associates.
Baseball sluggers often wear the number 25, or 25 is the full MLB roster. Just happens 25 is also the years of experience Schultz & Associates puts behind filing your tax return quickly, correctly, and electronically. Schultz & Associates, 899-1130.
How about we change that to Built in the USA? For over 21 years, Affordable Computers has been building computers right here in the good old USA, in Chattanooga, using the highest quality parts and components in every new computer they build. Tell us the exact system you need, we'll build it to your specifications. Or you can choose from a wide selection of our PCs and laptops, starting at under $200. All Affordable Computers are upgradable, guaranteed. Affordable Computers services their computers in store, typically within 1 to 3 days. And when you call, they answer the phone. You get support within minutes that you can understand. Affordable Computers in Chattanooga, and service and support extends for the life of the computer, not just for the warranty of the PC. So there's no reason to shop anywhere else. Call Affordable Computers now on Highway 58 Chattanooga, 423-499-1975. That's 423-499-1975.
Or visit our Fort Oaks store, 706-858-5888.
There's a reason why Alliance Physical Therapy is a choice of professionals and those who care about first-class, top-notch service and treatment. Because at Alliance Physical Therapy of Chattanooga, we don't just treat the symptoms in your body. Whether you're suffering from stiffness, muscle spasms, back pain, chronic headaches every day, stress of life demanding more and more of you, Alliance Physical Therapy takes a holistic approach to healing mind, body, and soul. Alliance Physical Therapy with a location near you and 9 others in the Chattanooga area. If you don't have a doctor or if your physician's plan for chronic pain is not working, Alliance Physical Therapy will help. Visit Alliance Physical Therapy on the web at nopainpt.com. That's nopainpt.com. Alliance Physical Therapy.
On this cruise ship, your favorite pool makes its own way. The sun is getting low. Not too bad yourself. Smart guy. Took advice and deals from Expedia in Chattanooga. Great food, great fellow passengers. Made friends. Terrific prices, free upgrades. Use the card with the onboard credit for a cold one. Maybe use it in the game room. Expedia Rail, Expedia Flights, Expedia Cars. Maybe a red tie for dinner. Expedia Cruise Ship Centers on Gun Barrel near Best Buy. 551-3770.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some fill line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on a county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field lines failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. Bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
Next segment is going to be some more general observations we did, but right now I'm going to talk about Florida. Because last year, in fact, most years, National Signing Day just kind of sneaks up on me, and then I'll do my homework like the night before National Signing Day. But that seems to be not as effective as just kind of staying on top of it the closer we get to it. So we're coming up to the end of January. So part of it to me is like, okay, let me just get this out of the way. Start looking up National Signing Day stuff right now. And I usually don't follow it because I just think it's creepy and weird to just really be following college recruits that way. They're a bunch of high school guys. They're like 18 years old, and you've just got people who get a little too deep into the recruiting life. And next thing you know, you're stalking some 17-and-a-half-year-old wide receiver from Sheboygan, Idaho. I mean, you just leave people alone, man. Wait till they commit. Why does this have to be 365 days of coverage of recruiting? But regardless, right? This is the world that we live in now, so I'm trying to assimilate in some way. It's just not my deal. But I was looking up stuff, and I came across something that was pretty interesting. Right? First off, I talked a little bit about it last week. Kirby Smart in Georgia putting together a pretty awesome recruiting class. I don't think that it's very much of a stretch to say that Georgia's going to be the class of the SEC East in the coming years. When you have a recruiting class, you're second in the SEC, second only to Alabama, and you're third in the nation, third only to Ohio State and Alabama. That is a heck of a recruiting class. And I know that Kirby Smart does have some recruiting chops, but you know who else is a guy that has some recruiting chops? He's known as being a really good recruiter. Jim McElwain. So I think to myself, as I'm looking for Florida in the top 10 nationally and can't find Florida, where the heck is Florida, right? So I'm scrolling down on 24/7 Sports trying to find Florida and where their recruiting class is. Florida is at 24. And I'm thinking, Florida's at 24? How is Florida at 24? Right? Like, I don't get that. And I understand before where you had, you get a pass, obviously, your first year because you're not part of the full recruiting cycle. And then you may even get a pass the second year because you're just trying to establish yourself in certain places, especially in the state. You're competing all the time. You're competing with Miami. You're competing with, even Louisville and Bobby Petrino. Like, you're just competing constantly. And Charlie Strong's down there now. Like, I see why it's hard. But you're Florida. There's no reason why you should be nationally ranked 24th and in the SEC 9th. Kentucky's got a better recruiting class than you. Muschamp in South Carolina. Right? You can expect some reasonable, LSU, Auburn, A&M, and Tennessee. But I would never expect in a million, billion, trillion years Carolina and Kentucky. And I read the breakdown of it on SEC Country. I'll post that on the Facebook page for you guys. Because I was reading the breakdown of it, and there's geographically places in Florida that specifically Jim McElwain's having a hard time in. Right? Like, Jacksonville is, for whatever reason, just kicking his butt. He cannot see to recruit there. And I don't understand why. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and pretend like I understand the ins and outs of Florida recruiting and what's important to those young men down there and how you sell. Like, I have no idea. All I know is ninth in the SEC for the Florida Gators, who are back-to-back SEC East champions. Right? I can't understand it. And I understand, Jim McElwain's been, by the way, a really good coach. He's won the SEC East twice, which, sure, some people might say is like being the biggest turd in a toilet. Ultimately, you are still a turd in a toilet. But he's done a lot with a little. He owes a lot to Tennessee, obviously, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, but he's done a lot with a little. I think the ultimate question here for Jim McElwain in Florida is, why do you have so little? Why are you doing a lot with a little? Couldn't you do more with more? How are you struggling this hard to recruit? I can't wrap my mind around it. And unless they address this is going to be one of those things where they're just stuck in neutral. Because I don't know how far you can go. And you're in Florida, and you can't recruit Florida. Like, everybody wants to recruit Florida. My God, Jim Harbaugh wants to establish satellite camps so he can do it. Everybody wants to recruit there. You are there. How is this not working out for you? And again, if it were some guy who had a reputation of being a schmuck or just being some kind of schlub that could not recruit, then it would make sense. And it's just like, yeah, we hired Jim McElwain because that dude can coach. We don't know so much about his ability to handle people. But that's not the case. That they hired him in large part because the man is known for being a good recruiter. This is the opposite, the direct opposite of what anybody wanted. And there are no answers. And that is ultimately where we're at. Like, you can give me the breakdown geographically of all the places that are giving Jim McElwain trouble, but you're still not ultimately answering the question as to why it is that all of these places are giving Jim McElwain trouble. The guy, I believe that guy knows how to recruit. Okay? And I have trouble understanding what it is and why they're gaining traction and why you win the SEC East and Georgia, who doesn't win the SEC East, better recruiting class than you. Tennessee, who does not win the SEC East, better recruiting class than you. Kentucky, who does not win the SEC East, better recruiting class than you. And they're actually trending downwards. And I'll be darned if I understand why. And if you look at all the Florida schools ahead of Florida, right? Florida's ranked nationally 24th in terms of recruiting class, which puts them behind Miami, Florida State. And I understand, like, being behind Florida State's pretty, as far as like commodities go, pretty hot right now. But Miami is another school that hired a coach because he's a good coach and because he's known for being a great recruiter, Mark Richt, right? And a respectable 15th, a respectable top 15 recruiting class from Mark Richt 2 years into the Miami job. One full season of Miami gets Mark Richt to 15. This is Jim McElwain going on year 3. 24 is not acceptable. It just isn't. Being behind Kentucky is not, I understand everything that's happening at Kentucky and the fact that Kentucky is trending upwards, but when you look at what Will Muschamp did at Florida, that was better as far as recruiting goes. Right? And obviously Urban Meyer put together some epic recruiting classes, but there's just no reason for this. And I have no words, and there are, I can't really offer an explanation. I just thought I should just share this awful thing that is happening right now. And I'm going to follow it, obviously. And we'll see where we land on National Signing Day. Maybe Jim McElwain is able to just be one of those guys that just steals your recruits. But I don't know. I have no answers for this. You're listening to The Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and NoogaRadio.com. I want to go upside somebody's head today. I want to slap somebody today. And it's a person I respect a lot, and I don't want to have to do this. No, I don't want to have to do this. But I was on Twitter, and I saw a tweet from Peter King, who is a guy that I respect a lot. He is a sports writer that I respect a lot. And it made no sense. He was talking about Deshaun Watson going to the Senior Bowl, or in this case, choosing not to go to the Senior Bowl. And he called Deshaun Watson opting not to go to the Senior Bowl a, quote, missed opportunity, end quote. What? What are we talking about here? Are we talking about a Heisman Trophy finalist? Are we talking about a Heisman Trophy winner? Are we talking about a guy that went to back-to-back national championship games? Are we talking about a guy who won the second time? Are we talking about a guy who beat Alabama and is on a very short list of people to do that? Maybe we're talking about a guy that beat arguably the best college football defense we've ever seen. Maybe we're talking about a different guy, right? Maybe I'm talking about one guy and you're talking about another guy. There could be some other dude named Deshaun Watson out there, but I'm not aware of. Maybe we're talking about a guy who has proven time and time again to be incredibly clutch. Maybe we're talking about a guy who, when he leaves Clemson, Clemson's not going to be the same next year. Right? Clemson's going to be one of those schools you figure will always be a contender now, because that's just the levels of expectations that they've now raised themselves to. But they're not going to be the same next year, at least without Deshaun Watson. That's not something that you can do. That's not a replaceable talent that you can just cover up that easily. Right? Maybe we're not talking about the same guy. What about the Senior Bowl is a missed opportunity for a guy with absolutely nothing left to prove? He's got nothing left to prove. There's nothing that Deshaun Watson hasn't shown us that he will show us in the Senior Bowl. Let's put it this way. Let's say Deshaun Watson decides to go play in the Senior Bowl. What could he do that would make a scout, that could make somebody in an organization who is on the fence about Deshaun Watson, all two of them? What could make that person go, oh, he's the guy. Did you see that throw that he made in the Senior Bowl? Really? Did you see the throws he was making against Ohio State? Because he was making a lot of throws against Ohio State. He worked the Buckeyes over. Did you see some of those fourth quarter throws against Alabama? Because I did, and they were pretty impressive. And I don't know how you top that in the Senior Bowl, a game that means absolutely nothing. It just means nothing. There are no stakes. I want to know now that I've seen that the guy can play, how he plays under pressure, how he plays under duress, how he plays in traffic, how he plays in stress when life gets tough in the NFL. And he basically beat a team full of NFL players already. What are you going to show in the Senior Bowl? Yeah, the Senior Bowl is a missed opportunity to show everybody all your mistakes, all your flaws. That's the only thing you've got left to show. Like, I commend guys who choose not to go to the Senior Bowl, that choose not to go to the Combine, when they don't have to go to the Senior Bowl and they don't have to go to the Combine. Okay? They already passed the test. If they fail, they already passed the class, right? Like, if they fail the final, it takes them down from what, a 99 to a 93? They still got an A. This is not, we're not going to learn anything new about Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson can only show up to the Senior Bowl and look bad. He can only show up to the Senior Bowl and look worse. It is literally a place conducive to him showing you more of his flaws than his strengths. He shows up to play with an offense he's never played in before, with a coach he's never worked in before, with a bunch of dudes that are his teammates that he's never thrown to before, that he's never operated an offense with before, and expected to show scouts and other people the best side of himself. And look, it would be important. It would be important if he wasn't already a national champion, except that he is and has absolutely nothing to prove to the absolute rest of you. I don't understand what Peter King is talking about here. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And I cannot condone this kind of just reckless tweeting from a man that's smart. Peter King is smarter than me. He knows more about football than I do. He's way smarter than me. But you know what? He's wrong this time, and I'm right, because Deshaun Watson showed us everything we're liable to see. He shouldn't go to the Combine either. Like, the Combine is the stupidest thing. Whenever quarterbacks choose not to throw at the Combine, and they make like this gigantic deal about it, and then you praise the guys that go, like, yeah, look, this shows a lot about his character that he chose to go to the Combine and throw. No, it doesn't. It shows a lot about his talent. He had to go to the Combine and throw because that was the only way he was going to impress any of you. If you're good enough to not have to go to the Combine, don't go to the Combine. So what? So that people can see you in gym shorts throwing passes to guys you've never thrown passes before? Like, why? The only thing that you have to gain is lost money. If you're Deshaun Watson. Like, there's zero reason he should go to the Senior Bowl. And it's only scouts watching the Senior Bowl. And again, I hate to harken back to our election last year. A lot of people who claim that they had not decided between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton leading up to the election. And I don't understand those people. I do not understand those people. Because as far as ideology goes and personality goes and everything that they stand for goes, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are about as far away from each other as North is from South. There's nothing about those people that are similar. How are you on the fence? How are you not sure which of these two people you want for president? It didn't make any sense then, and this doesn't make any sense. How do you not know by now whether or not you want Deshaun Watson? And also, how do you not know by now that the answer to that question as to whether or not you want Deshaun Watson is yes? That guy's going to be an amazing NFL quarterback. Are you serious? Like, some of the throws that he made against Alabama, you have to have like pinpoint accuracy as well as ice water flowing through your veins. How have you not decided yes already? What can he show you in the Senior Bowl? I'd really like Peter King to answer that question. What was he looking forward to in the Senior Bowl so much of seeing Deshaun Watson, besides, seeing more Deshaun Watson, which I guess is a good thing. Just watching him play more football, but be patient, man. He's going to the NFL. He'll be there. We'll all be fine. It'll be fine. Who are you on the fence with? Just doesn't make any sense to me. So you're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240, NoogaRadio.com. A lot of SEC guys yesterday, especially in Atlanta. Atlanta has a lot of SEC guys. You had Keon Neal, Brian Poole in Florida. You had Robert Alford, LSU. Julio, obviously. Bama. Julio with the great catch, man. Julio probably, more than anybody else in football to me, is a guy bona fide. Like, there's like a handful of guys. I look at them, and I'm like, they made you in a lab. Julio is one of those guys. They made Julio in a lab. And in that lab, they also made Cam Newton. They also made Rob Gronkowski. And they also made Odell Beckham Jr. Those four guys, I don't care what their backstories are and what they say that the backstories are. The real truth is that they were made in a lab. They were created in a lab. They're mutants. The catch that Julio made yesterday, where he caught the ball and it was thrown a little bit behind him, and he pinned it on his hip. And then as he's falling, which, by the way, he lands on his head and stands up and he's just fine. He pins the ball against his hip and then just sort of casually brings it over to the middle of his body so that he doesn't drop it when he lands. And I've never seen him move so casual in a situation that was so dangerous. He was falling to the ground and about to land on his head. And it was about as casual a thing as I have ever seen. And that would have been the most impressive play of the day, except he walked through Green Bay's defense. He walked through Green Bay's defense, like stiff-armed a couple of guys on the way to the end zone in a way that is embarrassing. That if that happened to me, I'd quit football because I wouldn't want to be remembered for that. I mean, that would be... And in fact, if Green Bay's defense were not made up of a bunch of guys you don't know, right? Because they've got Clinton Dix, and that's about it. That's about as far as Clinton Dix and Clay Matthews. If that defense were not constructed almost entirely of human beings you did not know, it would be embarrassing. You're listening to the Clutch with Keon on 1240 and NewRadio.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
Truex Jr. is off the pace and he is headed to the pit lane. Around the outside. Michael Michelle puts a right front tire. Here's Martin Truex to the bottom. Ladies watch him off too. Chase Elliott went 4 wide on the back straightaway. They're side by side for the lead.
Here at live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
News Talk 1240.
No choice of NASCAR.
Medical expenses, funeral costs, cemetery lots, unpaid medical bills, probate costs, debts. Debts are due and payable upon death of debtor. Will these costs produce a burden and hardship on your loved ones? Who will be responsible? How will they handle them? These costs can total many thousands of dollars, only compounded greater with the grief of losing a family member. A safe and secure way to provide for these costs is with an affordable life insurance from Covenant Group Insurance and Financial Services. Covenant Group is a local company with local agents. Covenant Group still makes house calls. Covenant Group only represents A-rated companies. With many options to offer, Covenant Group can accommodate almost any budget. Great discounts for good health and plans available for impaired risk. Call today for a free, no-obligation consultation in the convenience of your home. Call Steve or Jada at 423-855-8484. Call today, 423-855-8484.
You want more business. You want to increase your bottom line. You want to spend less on advertising, imaging your business, and general expenses. You need Trade Bank. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Trade Bank. Call now to get access to nearly 400 local businesses. Trade Bank. Call 877-2202. 877-2202. Trade Bank. You want to increase your cash flow, your competitive edge, attract new customers, and build a loyal customer base. You need Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call right now. 877-2202.
When you join Trade Bank, you'll get the benefit of free advertising in our monthly magazine, tradebank.com, emails, and mailouts. Join Trade Bank now and receive your Trade Bank debit card with trade credits to spend any way you want with our wide variety of Trade Bank partners. For almost 30 years, Trade Bank has been your voice for small business, a member of the American Bankers Association, and in good standing with you. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call now for a free consultation, 877-2202. That's 877-2202. Trade Bank of Chattanooga.
Choose Exit Realty Scenic City. Need to sell your house? Want to buy another house? Choose Exit Realty Scenic City. Our goals are simple. If you're selling, we get you the best price possible in the quickest amount of time with the least amount of hassle. Our agents are professional, competent, and courteous. We stay in touch every step of the way. If you're buying, we make sure you get all the information necessary to choose the right house in the right location at the best price. Exit Realty is one of the fastest growing real estate companies in North America. Our agents have extensive training, state-of-the-art technology, and full support that allows us to do the best job possible for you. If you're in the market to buy or sell, call us today, 423-551-EXIT. That's 423-551-3948. If you're an agent or considering a career in real estate, call us today. See what Exit Realty can do for you. No desk fees, residual income, technology to the max, and people first. Call us today, 551-EXIT. That's 551-3948. We're located at 7610 Hamilton Park Drive, just off the Bonnie Oaks exit.
Cash, 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 and more cash. No, but we'll get you the gold, silver, and diamonds just for her that may get you some loving.
Diamonds are a girl's best friend.
It's for Valentine's Day. Are you crazy? You're just getting her flowers that are going to wilt? Give her something that'll last a lifetime. Gold, silver, diamonds, jewelry. A girl's best friend are not wilting flowers. They're diamonds. So let me tell you, my friend, don't make a mistake. Rick Davis Gold and Silver with the shiniest diamonds at the best price. But you gotta get to Rick before the deals are all gone. Don't wait. Rick Davis Gold and Silver. He's got your cash, 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 and more cash. And for Valentine's Day, lots of what you'll love.
Diamonds are a girl's best friend.
Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds, 5301 Brainerd Road, Chattanooga.
It's Valentine's Day, a day to be happy when you have a baby.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field line failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family, but it happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is key.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDG Sunny Daisy, Chattanooga.
Weekday workday #1 for the Trump administration, signing executive orders.
Great thing for the American worker, what we just did.
Republicans talk up life after Obamacare.
It is a generous approach.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Dave Barrett. Right down to work, business and union leaders had appointments at the White House today. Trade, hiring, abortion, all issues that got President Trump's attention. Here's correspondent Stephen Portnoy.
The president signed 3 executive orders. One imposes a federal hiring freeze. Another blocks 8 organizations from using federal funds to promote or provide abortions overseas. And a third takes the U.S. out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Great thing for the American worker, what we just did.
The trade deal with 11 Pacific Rim nations was doomed to fail in Congress. Liberals said its environmental provisions weren't strong enough. Labor groups worried it would result in a loss of U.S. jobs. But Republican Senator John McCain calls Mr. Trump's decision a serious mistake that will let China set trade rules in the region. The new administration says it will aim for bilateral agreements with just one nation at a time. Stephen Portnoy, CBS News, the White House.
Early in the day, a dozen business leaders met with the president. Dow Chemical CEO Andrew Laveris was among them.
We've been tasked with coming back in 30 days with a series of actions that can help stimulate the American manufacturing economy.
Republican senators spoke to reporters today on Capitol Hill. Maine's Susan Collins says as they work to repeal Obamacare, they're presenting what's called the Patient Freedom Act.
Our goal is to increase the number of people who are insured in this country.
One option includes giving states federal funding promised under Obamacare. Low-income residents would have health savings accounts to buy insurance and pay for their health care. A watchdog group is suing President Trump over what it claims are foreign payments his businesses are receiving. CBS's Paula Reed explains.
The lawsuit wants him to stop accepting money from any foreign governments at his hotels, his golf courses, and other business interests. This lawsuit points to provisions in the Constitution that prohibit officials from accepting any kind of gifts from foreign governments. And they say the reason that's in there is because the framers didn't want officials to be corrupted by influence from foreign officials.
Harvard law professor Lawrence Tribe is part of this lawsuit, which the president says is without merit.
When Donald Trump says something is totally without merit, you should put your finger to the wind and see which way it's blowing. I think he's blowing hot air, and he doesn't know the law.
With the new administration comes a new way of getting the message out. White House spokesman Sean Spicer.
Beginning later this week, I'm excited to announce that we're going to have 4 what we call Skype seats live here in the briefing room.
That way, journalists who work outside of D.C. can take part in White House briefings. The Dow dropped 27. Now this.
A hearty breakfast that gets you out of bed in the morning and the road that lets you safely get to work have one thing in common: salt. Not only does salt make your food taste better, it makes icy roads safer. Using salt to de-ice the roads can reduce car crashes by 88% and injuries by 85%. Icy roads end where salt begins. Everything's better with a little salt. Find out why at alittlesalt.org.
Are you looking for senior care for your mom or dad but don't know where to start? Hi, I'm Jen London with The Place for Mom. Nobody knows your parent or loved one better than you, and nobody knows senior living better than the experts at A Place for Mom. It's a free service, and we've helped thousands of families find the right place for their mom or dad. There's a place for answers, A Place for Mom. Call today.
Call A Place for Mom at 1-800-379-1174. That's 1-800-379-1174.
Tornado cleanup today in southern Georgia. In Dougherty County, Exec Chris Cohilas wants the feds to step up.
We've been begging for the help of FEMA, the assistance, the boots on the ground, the reasons why federal government exists to help in situations like this. We're not asking for money right now. We're asking for resources.
Northeast, storm ramping up. Could be hurricane-force gusts. In Philadelphia, a man was walking in a neighborhood and the wind blew down a sign, struck and killed him. In their 90s, George and Barbara Bush are pushing on. The former First Lady out of Houston Methodist Hospital after suffering from a cough and fatigue. Dr. Amy Minders.
Part of why she ended up, I think, in the hospital was because even though she was ill, she was trying to be by his bedside all the time and wasn't able to get the care she needed.
Former President George H.W. Bush out of ICU now.
Is your water making you fat? Is it making you sick? Is it safe?
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
Here's what advertisers are saying about AM 1240. HotNewsTalkRadio.com.
Radio station, they really care. They're always calling me probably once a week, checking on me, seeing how things going, see if they want to change any of the ads or do anything different, seeing what my needs are. I've gotten business off the ads that you do for me, and seems to be working well at this point.
Prices were very fair. Areas in this town that we aren't able to get other ways, your radio station is able to help us out, and I really appreciate that.
We've been very pleased with the services we've got. It seems like everybody out there cares about what they're going to do, how it's going to work for us on this end, and we've been very impressed with the creativity of the ads that we've heard, and they always seem to be right on point, even without us having to come up with what's going to be said.
I've been doing business with News Talk Radio for quite some time. It's the best place and the best value you can get for your advertising. The commercials are great, they're very professional. I was actually blown away.
The commercial that they put together was awesome. It was way far above all the other radio stations we've dealt with. The best we've had yet, guaranteed, by far.
AM 1240, HotNewsTalkRadio.com gets results. Let us get results for your business. For no obligation free consultation, call General Sales Manager Steve Johnson. Call 423-240-5459. That's 240-5459. Or you can always email Steve at NoogaRadioSteve@gmail.com. That's NoogaRadioSteve@gmail.com. AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We get results.
Lunch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and NoogaRadio.com. Hour 2 of the show. We've been talking about championship weekend, conference championship weekend here at in the NFL. And the New England Patriots punched their ticket to the Super Bowl by a 36-17 victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Atlanta earlier that Sunday, 44-21, punched the Packers in the face and punched their ticket to the Super Bowl as well. Super Bowl 51, which, by the way, the exclusive home of Super Bowl 51 here in Chattanooga. Oh, is that us? Yes, it is us. It's right here on AM 1240 and NoogaRadio.com. So, for your info. So the casual observations of the weekend, of which there are a great many to parse through. Some NFL, some NBA, some college football related. I did go deep into one observation I did make over the weekend with Jim McElwain and the Florida recruiting problem. Because if he doesn't improve that, Florida's not going to keep winning the SEC East if they keep recruiting like this. Because Georgia's going to be better than them. And it's going to be fast. Right? After one recruiting class, once those guys start to mature, start to become upperclassmen, gain the experience necessary, Florida's not going to be able to keep winning the SEC East, which is weak. Kentucky's recruiting better than you. Tennessee's recruiting better than you. You're not going to keep winning the East playing like this. Oh, and by the way, I don't even know if Luke Del Rio's the answer at quarterback. So you just have all those things. But I've got other weekend observations as well. So it's time for those. Most of them will probably be playoff observations, but here we go. Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman, talked about them last week. To me, they were in large part factors to Atlanta's offense and factors why I thought Atlanta was going to beat Green Bay. And it's pretty clear when you look at both of those guys. They are top 25 in the NFL in receiving stats, in rushing stats. And what makes them the best running back, two-headed dragon, that I think basically we've ever seen is this. It's not like one guy has a strength and the other guy has a weakness, right? It's not like you've got what's going on up in New England, where New England's got a pretty decent situation. You've got Dion Lewis, who runs between the tackles for you, and LeGarrette Blount pounds everything home. You've got a variety there in terms of the strengths and weaknesses of those guys. You're not going to use LeGarrette Blount as much in your passing game because it doesn't suit him. It really doesn't. But you would use Dion Lewis a little bit more that way. And, they used Dion Lewis in that flea flicker in a way that I don't know that it would have worked with LeGarrette Blount. It's not believable that LeGarrette Blount would be your go-to back right there in the middle of the field. But if Atlanta had chosen to run a similar play, it would have worked with Devontae or Tevin. And the reason why is because those two guys are versatile as all get out. The versatility that they offer, the versatility that they provide as weapons to Matt Ryan and to Kyle Shanahan and this entire offense. You can have them line up at running back and flex out and be a wide receiver. You can have them run between the tackles. You can use them as a scat back on any variety of plays. And you can also, by the way, use them as blockers. Both of those guys block really well. And times when Green Bay brought extra pressure to try and get Matt Ryan to make a mistake, oh, look, it's Devontae Freeman picking up the block, right? Screen passes. You've got a lot of versatility with both of these guys. You're at the goal line, you can use them. You're 20 yards out from the goal line, you can use them. Check downs are always great with those guys. Like Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman, my two favorite players of the weekend.
I really enjoyed watching them play and add the sort of third dimension to it, Atlanta's defense that honestly I don't think that even the Patriots have. And I think the Patriots are easily the number 2 offense in the league in terms of their how terrifying they are, in terms of their ability to absolutely scare the jabbers out of your defense and how do you game plan for those guys. I think New England's right there in large part because of Brady. But Atlanta's got to be number 1 to me, if not because of all the weapons, Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman being the prime ones. We were walking through the streets of Atlanta after the game. We were just across the street from the Georgia Dome. It was me and local sports writer Patrick McCoon. He was we were just taking in the sights and sounds of the game, and Atlanta fans walking through the streets chanting cheesecake, and there were a bunch of Packer fans around. They were trying to hide the cheese heads. They were trying to hide the green. Wasn't happening. Watching an entire family of Packer fans basically just wither in front of us in the restaurant that we were at was also pretty insane. And one of the things that I really didn't anticipate was how many Packer fans would be out in full force in Atlanta. They were all out there, and I know that goes to show that like Packer fans are out there, and a few of them did travel, but there were some people down there that like, y'all, when did you ever make your pilgrimage to Green Bay? Because I know you've never been there. I'm not one of these purist people that feels like, you had to be in a place to ever root for a team. But it's just funny when you're all out in full force that way. It's humorous. Okay, you can root for whoever you want, but if you're rooting for Green Bay in Atlanta and then you get shellacked by Atlanta in Atlanta, it's just going to be humorous. That's just really all we're going there with that. The chants of cheesecake were loud in the streets of Atlanta. I thought it was a fun time had by all not wearing green. And I've never been in an atmosphere like that because I've not been in a big NFL city in that way. The city that I've spent most of my time in outside of this one is San Antonio, and San Antonio is a big NBA town. So everyone gets excited and all charged up for the Spurs, but I think there's a different energy for the NFL, especially down here. Another observation, Tom Brady, he was surgical. He did it again. Sliced up Pittsburgh, made them look like they weren't even there. And I don't know how many, like Tom Brady going to a 7th Super Bowl boggles the mind. And when you think about any stat that Tom Brady could produce that boggles the mind at this point, I think that goes to show the greatness of Tom Brady. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and NoogaRadio.com. My weekend observations, the casual observations, the observations that I make in my mind, and then I write them down later. I don't write them down while I'm observing them. That's what makes them casual. Yeah. Business casual, if you have to go ahead and mark it. Tom Brady going to 7 Super Bowls. I don't think we've ever seen a level of consistency like this in sports. We're never going to see another Brady. We're never going to see another Brady Belichick. Tom Brady is like there aren't words to describe him. And by the way, Bill Belichick, since I just mentioned him, I was listening to Fox Sports earlier today. I was listening to Colin Cowherd earlier today. You can catch him on this very station. And someone was remarking that Bill Belichick has been to, if you count the games that he's been to a Super Bowl as a coordinator as well, Bill Belichick's been to 10 Super Bowls. Bill Belichick has been to almost 20% of the Super Bowls that have ever been played. Ever. And when you think about that, that's the only stat that I can think of that's even more amazing than Tom Brady's going to 7. Is that if you count the times that Bill Belichick has been a coordinator, he's going to 10. He's gone to 10 Super Bowls in his life. As a person participating in the game. Like, how nuts is that? I don't know that we're ever going to see another Bill Belichick. I mean, that's insanity. That is insanity. Also, Bill Belichick claims that he did not realize that the Falcons had won their game over the Green Bay Packers when New England was playing their game. And so we have to talk about this because there's just stuff that Bill Belichick says. And you almost like don't believe that it's true. Because like who would not pay attention to who their potential opponent would be before the game that they're going to play? To me, this stuff isn't truly distracting. I just don't think it's truly distracting. Like Antonio Brown didn't play poorly yesterday because of the Facebook Live video. I know it doesn't play well. And I stand by that opinion. I think it doesn't play well. But that's not why he didn't play well. He didn't play well because New England has a great defense and they erased him from the game. That's why he didn't play well. He wasn't distracted. The Steelers weren't distracted. They just weren't as good as the Patriots. So I don't think that looking at who your potential opponent in the Super Bowl might be, will be distracting because honestly, that's not going to be crossing your mind when you're running a play. Like Julian Edelman's not running around going, boy, I'm sure glad that Atlanta's our opponent. I hate playing the Packers. He's not thinking that. Nobody would ever think that in the middle of a play. It doesn't cross your mind. It just can't. Like the amount of effort that it takes to process literally everything else happening on the football field. It just can't. I've played pickup basketball where I've had stressful things going on in my life. I play pickup basketball and I'm not distracted by the stressful things that happen in my life. Typically, I'm bad at pickup basketball because I am bad at pickup basketball, not because anything is happening in my life that is distracting me from pickup basketball. And I don't even have a 16th of the mental focus that these guys that play professional sports have. If I'm not distracted by it in a pickup game, how are they going to be distracted by it in a professional game? They're professionals. Like, come on. Bill Belichick is not going to be distracted by that. But Bill Belichick said that he didn't even see it. I don't buy it. But I also don't buy that Bill Belichick doesn't know what Twitter is and doesn't know what a tweet is and doesn't understand how it works. I believe he doesn't use Twitter. But like he talks about it like it's this foreign thing that he's never come into contact with before. And I just can't believe that. Like I have trouble wrapping my mind around that. Much less this. I think Bill Belichick likes to just toy with the media, and he says everything with a stone cold straight face, so we just straight up believe him. But if you've ever seen like Bill Belichick out off the field, Bill Belichick just kind of hanging out life. I think NFL Films did a football life on Bill Belichick. He's a hilarious guy. I have no trouble believing that Bill Belichick is trolling all of us and laughing at us later. Casual basketball observation from the weekend. The Lakers get waxed. The Lakers got their clock cleaned by the Dallas Mavericks. 49-point loss for the Los Angeles Lakers, which, to be clear, they're not a good basketball team, and there is virtually no reason for anybody to spend like any time on talk radio talking about the Lakers outside of LA, except when you get beaten to the worst tune in your franchise history. That is 49 points. A few things end up coming to mind, right? Like, when was the last time you got beaten this bad? And the fact of the matter is the Lakers have been bad recently for a while. Because the last time the Lakers got beaten this bad was last year. Last March. The Lakers got beaten by 48 points by the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz. The Lakers scored 73 points in this game. The Mavericks scored 122, which is only relevant because last night, when they just got worked over by Dallas, is the anniversary of a great Laker game. The night that Kobe Bryant scored 81 points, which to me stands as like the single greatest guard performance that I've ever seen in my life, albeit that I didn't get to see it live. I had to watch like highlights on ESPN. But regardless, Kobe Bryant scores 81 points. And on the anniversary of that night, the Los Angeles Lakers, as a team, score 73. Lou Williams is the only Laker in double figures. It just smacks of what goes wrong with stability, right? Like, I like to talk a lot on this show about stability and when that goes correctly and when that goes well and when that is right. What good that can do. Stagnation is the downside of stability. When you have the same people in place making the same decisions over and over and over again, you're not stable, you've stagnated. Right? Isn't that what happened with Jeff Fisher and the Titans? He was just here forever. And they stagnated. Because there once upon a time we thought Jeff Fisher was a good coach. And they stagnated and they didn't change anything, and stability became stagnation. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240, Noogaradio.com, just making some casual observations from the weekend. And one of the casual observations that I have that I've made, the Lakers get beaten by 49 points. It is the worst loss in franchise history on the anniversary of the night where Kobe Bryant scored 81 points against the Toronto Raptors. And it's pretty embarrassing. And if Luke Walton, here's a quote from Luke Walton after the game, which if Luke Walton isn't trying to save his job with this quote here, I don't know what else is happening. Look at the amount of times that he says he uses the word building and rebuilding. We didn't show up to play honestly, he said, which is frustrating. First-year Lakers coach Luke Walton said after the 49-point drubbing, honestly, it's embarrassing for us as a team and for an organization, for our Laker fans that are so good to us. Again, at this point, it's not about every night going out and winning. It's about playing a certain style that allows you the chance while you're trying to build this thing. It's about getting better and building on games, like our last game, and not being satisfied with it. The effort just wasn't there tonight, which I don't understand. I love our group of guys. I know we're about to bring it next game, but that's not who we are. It was frustrating tonight. Just casually mentioning and slipping into conversation that yes, we're building and that we're rebuilding. Yeah, no, we get it. Your team's not good. I wouldn't hold that against Luke Walton either. The NBA is a players' league. It's not a coach's league. The fact, if the guys show up and they get beaten by 49 points, understand that it's not the coach's fault. Grown men, professional players, getting paid, that's on you, right? You're in college and you get, if Duke gets beaten by 49, that's Coach K's fault. That's Coach K's fault. You got to prepare your guys. College sports are coach-driven. Professional sports, that's player-driven, especially in the NBA, possibly the most player-driven league in all of sports. You show up and get smacked around by 49 points, that's on you. And I actually thought Luke Walton didn't throw them under the bus enough. Another weekend observation, possibly my final weekend observation, a casual weekend observation, right? Russell Westbrook. Who was snubbed as a Western Conference starter, which I just think is absolutely silly, ludicrous, and ridiculous. I understand that Steph Curry is Steph Curry, but we're talking about the guy that's playing the best right now. Of the two guys, it's Westbrook. Sure, is there some selfish stat stuffing involved? Yeah. But he's averaging a triple-double, which nobody has done since Wilt. And I don't care exactly what metrics you use. A guard doing something that nobody has done since a center last did it is worth noting, and worth noting as being like the best thing happening in basketball this year. That guy should be the Western Conference starter. And he's going to say Russell Westbrook thing. So he said, this is my observation of the weekend, which is the most Russell Westbrook thing that ever got said was, well, I don't play for all-star games. I play to win championships, which now I have to turn on Russell. I have to turn on Russell Westbrook, which I did not want to do. I did not plan on doing. There is no joy in this. But, man, you're not playing for any championships. I understand that, you have to honestly believe it. But if Russell Westbrook honestly believes this season he is playing for a championship, he is delusional. Anytime they play a team that's good, they play the Spurs, they play the Warriors, they get pushed around. They get pushed around when they play the Rockets. They get beaten fairly badly because they are not a good basketball team and they're not as good. We talk about this being a strong link sport. Look, the strong links of those teams are stronger than him. James Harden does more for the offense of Houston than Russell does for the offense of the Oklahoma City Thunder. And imagine if you could multiply Russell Westbrook and his effect on his team by 3, and that's what you've got with Golden State. He's not playing for a championship until he can convince at least one other guy near and around his level to come to Oklahoma City and share the ball with him somehow, which that is in itself is just a science experiment that I would just love to see go sideways. He's never going to play for a championship. It's not going to happen. He's not that kind of player. And the closest chance he ever had to going to a championship he had with Kevin Durant. And if he was the kind of teammate that Kevin Durant wanted to play with, he'd still be playing for a championship. And I understand you say that stuff. That's the stuff that Oklahoma City fans want to hear, et cetera, et cetera. But, man, don't sound crazy. Playing for a championship? When? You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and NoogaRadio.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 News Radio News, Russell Stroud reporting. 2 men and a woman have been arrested after police say they set up a devious scheme. The police said that they set up the sale of a PlayStation console on the Let Go app, and then when they met the buyer, they would rob the buyer, mug him. The plan didn't quite go off without a hitch, though. The buyer realized that they were being robbed and tried to call police. They ran away, and a scuffle broke out. Knives were pulled. Eventually, a car chase ensued. A gold Tahoe was the vehicle that the alleged robbers were driving. Both vehicles got stopped at a train track by a passing train, and a fight broke out there in the road. Knives were pulled, and car doors were slammed, and hoods were banged on with fists. Eventually, though, the police arrived and arrested the 3 individuals. A man was shot by a woman in East Lake. The twist is the woman is not going to be facing any charges, but the man is. The woman, police say, fired in self-defense after a domestic dispute, and the man already had charges pending against him. It's going on in the Tennessee Valley. It's going on Nooga Radio News.
Cloudy skies will continue through your nighttime. Not as breezy. Overnight lows near 40. For your Tuesday, looking better with more afternoon sunshine. Highs into the upper 50s. Tomorrow night, lows upper 30s. Lower 60s Wednesday with some afternoon clouds. Just a slight chance of a late shower. Come to Larry's World Famous Buffet in Trenton. Open Thursdays through Sundays, featuring some of the finest home-style cooking around. Larry also offers catering. That's Larry's, just off 559 in Trenton. And I'm Swarm Team 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. $25 goes by quickly these days, and 25 cents still just a quarter. 25 is the years of experience Schultz & Associates puts behind filing your tax return. Quickly, correctly, and electronically. Schultz & Associates.
Hi, I'm Chip Chapman with this question. Are you concerned about getting a timely refund this year? There is a solution. Ask Schultz & Associates about Refund Advantage. It's a no-interest loan that allows you to get your tax refund quickly. But some tax refund product fees do apply, so make sure and understand the details. You can receive your refund quickly via check or prepaid credit card. Ask about Refund Advantage when you visit Schultz & Associates, 6310 Bonnie Oaks Drive, or call 899-1130. Schultz & Associates.
Baseball sluggers often wear the number 25, or 25 is a full MLB roster. Just happens 25 is also the years of experience Schultz & Associates puts behind filing your tax return quickly, correctly, and electronically. Schultz & Associates, 899-1130.
How about we change that to Built in the USA? For over 21 years, Affordable Computers has been building computers right here in the good old USA, in Chattanooga, using the highest quality parts and components in every new computer they build. Tell us the exact system you need, we'll build it to your specifications. Or you can choose from a wide selection of our PCs and laptops, starting at under $200. All Affordable Computers are upgradable, guaranteed. Affordable Computers services their computers in store, typically within 1 to 3 days. And when you call, they answer the phone. You get support within minutes that you can understand. Affordable Computers of Chattanooga. And service and support extends for the life of the computer, not just for the warranty of the PC. So there's no reason to shop anywhere else. Call Affordable Computers now on Highway 58, Chattanooga, 423-499-1975. That's 423-499-1975.
Or visit our Fort O store, 706-858-5888.
There's a reason why Alliance Physical Therapy is a choice of professionals and those who care about first-class, top-notch service and treatment. Because at Alliance Physical Therapy of Chattanooga, we don't just treat the symptoms in your body. Whether you're suffering from stiffness, muscle spasms, back pain, chronic headaches every day, stress of life demanding more and more of you, Alliance Physical Therapy takes a holistic approach to healing mind, body, and soul. Alliance Physical Therapy with a location near you and 9 others in the Chattanooga area. If you don't have a doctor or if your physician's plan for chronic pain is not working, Alliance Physical Therapy will help. Visit Alliance Physical Therapy on the web at nopainpt.com. That's nopainpt.com. Alliance Physical Therapy.
On this cruise ship, your favorite pool makes its own way. The sun is getting low. You're not too bad yourself. Smart guy. Took advice and deals from Expedia in Chattanooga. Great food, great fellow passengers, made friends, terrific prices, free upgrades. Use the card with the onboard credit for a cold one. Maybe use it in the game room. Expedia Rail, Expedia Flights, Expedia Cars. Maybe red time for dinner. Expedia Cruise Ship Centers on Gun Barrel near Best Buy. 551-3770.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is a field line failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. But by preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. Bottom line is save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
So I am a guy that I feel like I'm fairly pragmatic. I feel like I am reasonable. And you can listen to The Herd with Colin Cowherd here on AM 1240 and Noogaradio.com every day from 12 to 4, 12 to 3. It's great sports talk radio. And like one of the things though that Colin has is like body language. Body language is one of his big things. And to me, I don't really buy the body language thing. Like, yes, people can have bad body language, and body language is a sign of things not necessarily being perfect. But I don't believe that correlation necessarily is causation. Like, you don't, simply because you have bad body language doesn't mean, oh, you're going to lose a game now. You can't be a great quarterback because you've got bad body language. Your teammates can't believe in you because you've got bad body language. Yeah, like that's true about Jay Cutler. But Jay Cutler just had a bad attitude in general. Like, having bad body language does not mean you have a bad attitude. It means that you are an overly expressive person. You know, and like there's something about quarterbacks that we just want quarterbacks to be just inhuman machines. They must not only be able to dissect and decipher what is happening in an NFL defense, diagnose it, and make the right decision constantly. They must not only win games despite the fact that they play in a team sport. They also have to be like this anchor of positivity all the time, all the time, all the time. Never be negative. Never hang your head. Never, 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 never. Or, you know what, you're the reason your team lost. And I just can't wrap my mind around that stuff. And, like, Colin Cowherd and Chris Carter, and like I said, I like them both. They were talking about Aaron Rodgers' body language. And I'm like, that's not why he lost. I mean, you can try and psychoanalyze body language. I think that stuff is even more nebulous than what stat guys do. Like, everybody talks about how stat guys take numbers, and you can use numbers to make an argument, make numbers say whatever it is you want to say. Just twist it this way, manipulate it that way, and make it say what you want to say. But I'll take numbers over let's psychoanalyze Aaron Rodgers' body language. See, you could tell before the Kansas City game, he knew he was going to win. You could tell before the Atlanta game, he knew he was going to lose. Like, so we all knew he was going to lose, right? Like, Atlanta's a better team than Green Bay. Green Bay was playing on borrowed time before the playoffs started. The fact that they made it this far is just a testament to the fact that they've just been powered by Aaron Rodgers' burning desire to make a Super Bowl return trip. How are you psychoanalyzing his body language? Like, did you watch him? Did you watch him from the beginning when he showed up to the stadium? You watched him put on his pads. He went out. He stretched. Like, you watched every single second of that and knew that Aaron Rodgers thought he was going to lose that day. Like, that's such garbage and nonsense when I see it. I cannot understand how completely respectable people take that stuff and, like, turn it into stories. How does Aaron Rodgers' body language in any way equate to the fact that he has no receivers to throw to? His most reliable running back is a wide receiver, and his most reliable receiver is a guy with busted ribs. How does that in any way equate to the fact that his offensive line could not keep Vic Beasley from basically being his jersey for 4 quarters? How does Aaron Rodgers' body language in any way equate to the fact that nobody could catch a pass from him even when it hit them directly in the hands? How does his body language have anything to do with the fact that his defense could not get a single stop all day? Not one. Every single time Atlanta went out, they scored some kind of points. There were no turnovers. Atlanta was just the better team. How are we reading body language into all of this? And I hate it. And when I look at some of these headlines, too, they're just so sensationalist and stupid. I can't believe that people I actually respect, are writing some of this stuff. There is a video on NFL.com being reported by Aditi Kinkabwala, and I hope I am not butchering her name because she's really good. But this video is garbage. Antonio Brown hangs head after Steelers touchdown. So, did you honestly think that the Steelers had a chance in that game? Like, how do you know he was hanging his head? What was the context for that? Did you talk to him about it? Did you ask him? How is this a story? How is it a story? Like, at no point should this ever be a story mentioned in the 48 to 72 hours after the games that were played, when they were played at the level that Atlanta played, and when they were played at the level that New England played. Never. I mean, you're just making stuff up. Like, it just feels like BuzzFeed clickbait. I don't get it. Is there anybody that actually is looking at this stuff and going, yep, confirmed what I knew all along? Aaron Rodgers ain't that great. Now, I thought Dan Marino had better body language than him. You people are crazy. If you're one of those people, you people are nuts. Absolutely bonkers. And there is no helping you. Like, you can't come back from that level of stupid. Like, there's nothing there with regards to the body language. Like, you were reading into something that you have no way of knowing. Like, are you a psychologist? Are you a behavioral analyst? Is this your job? Radio? Then how can you tell? What are your tells? Like, I think that there are times when you're like, okay, it's obvious. And again, I got to go back to Jay Cutler because I feel like Jay Cutler made it easy for everybody. Jay Cutler made it way too easy for everybody. Jay Cutler would do something, and Jay Cutler is obviously on the bench by himself away from all of his teammates. And I get that, you're supposed to be some kind of leader for your team. And so you want your leader to be enthusiastic, but not everybody is going to be rah, rah, go get him. Right? Like, that's one of the cool things about Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is super vocal, and he's going to be charging up his team. And it doesn't matter if you're down by 3 or 30. Jameis Winston's going to be on the sideline going, come on, guys, let's get it. But that's just who Jameis is. Marcus Mariota, on the other hand, Marcus doesn't say much. Marcus is probably one of the more boring guys. Like miking him up. Marcus Mariota is powerfully boring. If anything, Marcus Mariota being mic'd up is awesome for the stuff that people say around him. Marcus himself does not say anything of interest. But that's a fine way to be a quarterback, too. I don't see anybody on the Titans doubting Marcus Mariota's ability to bring them back in the game. And nobody's ever come out and said that. Marcus Mariota makes good decisions with the football, and he's a leader in his own way. Like, there's multiple ways to do this. Like, there's not just one way to be a leader. There have been quiet leaders, too. People who use their actions more than their words. Those people exist. Those people exist, and their way of being a leader is not like the wrong way. That somehow everybody's got to be fired up on the sidelines, yelling at their guys. I'm going to smack everybody on the top of the helmet and tell them, let's go. We've got one more run to be great. Like one of those quarterbacky quotes that come up out of a movie. Like, where is it written that everybody's got to play like that? It's cool when they do. I'm not, like, don't get it wrong. It's really cool when they do. But they just don't have to. And nothing bothers me more than that stuff, where it's just like, yep, I see Aaron Rodgers, and somebody didn't catch a pass that hit him directly in their fingers. Aaron Rodgers rolled his eyes. Look at that body language. I'd be rolling my eyes too. If I were a Packer fan, like not even a player, just a fan, I'd be rolling my eyes. Like when passes hit you in the hands and you are a guy that gets paid to catch, no excuses. None. That's what I think. I think if you get hit in the hands with passes, you ought to catch it. And there's just something about Aaron Rodgers specifically that, like, just the way that he sort of carries himself and the fact that he is kind of a subversionalist. Aaron Rodgers doesn't buy into the stuff like that. Like when Russell Wilson and the Seahawks had that amazing comeback against the Packers a few years back, and then Russell Wilson was like, "This is what God wanted," and Aaron Rodgers was like, "What?" Like obviously, you can look at that and just look at the ridiculousness of that statement. What do you mean this is what God wanted? But like people buy stuff like that. They honestly buy it. And that's the thing about Aaron Rodgers. That I think like I like him for this. He's real. I like real. I've always liked Cam Newton, and people are like, why do you like arrogant guys? Why do you like cocky guys? I don't necessarily like arrogant guys. I don't necessarily like humble guys either. I just like real. If you're going to be arrogant, if you are arrogant, then be real about it. Like, if you are actually arrogant, don't pretend to be humble for me. Be yourself. If you are actually humble, don't start talking into microphones and saying ridiculous stuff, again, for the audience's benefit. Be yourself. And I think Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys. He is most himself of all the quarterbacks that I see. Because I think a lot of the quarterbacks just censor themselves constantly and don't say things that are interesting, in large part because if you say something interesting, it usually is also controversial, and controversial gets you killed in the media. Okay? Antonio Brown made a Facebook Live video. He made a Facebook Live video, and that was a controversy. It was an actual controversy that we had to talk about and discuss. because everybody was talking about it and discussing it. And to be clear, the result of that game would have been impacted not one iota by Antonio Brown if he had decided not to Facebook the video, right? Then you know what happens? The Steelers still get drubbed by the Patriots. And do you know why? Because the Patriots are better than the Steelers. Like, sometimes we turn this stuff into this esoteric morality play, and it always has to be that. It always has to be that. And I think it has to be that so that we don't have to talk about, like, the X's and the O's, and we don't have to talk about the numbers. Because if we get to talk about feelings, well, everybody can talk about feelings. Not everybody can talk about cold, hard facts. Everybody can talk about feelings, though. Because everybody's got feelings. It's just the stupidest thing. I'm not going to do that to you. Like, I'm not going to insult your IQ and your intelligence that much by doing that to you. I went on this longer than I intended, but I'm upset. It makes me mad to see those headlines, and it makes me mad to see that stuff, and to, like, see two really smart people sit down and go, "Yeah, we could tell by his body language he knew he was going to lose to Atlanta. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy." What on earth are you talking about? Are you high? I swear to honest goodness, I sat there and listened to that in my car today, and there was nothing that I could say that would make that better. And I'll post that on the Facebook page too, because, like, I want to know what you guys think, because it's one of those things where we've got to make something out of nothing, right? Like, you've just got radio time to fill, and you've just got to talk about that. It's so bizarre. Why do we do that? It doesn't matter. It does not matter what Aaron Rodgers' body language was before the game. And was Aaron Rodgers annoyed with his teammates? Yes. Yes. Because Aaron Rodgers did nothing wrong in that game. He did nothing wrong. He can't block for himself or throw passes to himself. He just got beaten by a much better football team. And that's all it is. Why do we have to psychoanalyze this into his body language? His shoulders were sagging, and look at him roll his eyes. The Fox with the slow motion of every Aaron Rodgers eye roll. Quarterback. They do that to him. Him and Jay Cutler. Right? Like, Cam Newton's a guy that's also known for bad body language, but you understand that the reason why Cam Newton struggles sometimes to be a quarterback is that he still can't read NFL defenses particularly well. And if he doesn't have a running back to help him in the running game, he is the only person that gets targeted, and he gets beaten up. That, and he's not a wholly accurate passer. His body language hasn't got a darn thing to do with it. If Cam Newton had poor body language, but a more consistent throwing motion, he more consistently read defenses correctly, he maybe pointed his feet where he was throwing like you're supposed to, then it wouldn't make all the difference in the world, because nobody was talking about Cam Newton's body language last year until they lost. Then suddenly that became the story. You realize that Cam Newton's been moping since he entered the league. He's in perpetual mope. That's what he does. It's just not a problem when he's winning. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and NoogaRadio.com. I'm done. I'll drop it. I'll drop it, right? And not like the Colin Kaepernick thing, drop it, because I said I would drop that, and then I talked about it for like another month because it was great. Now, I'm actually dropping this until the next time that it comes out. So you've got 2 weeks. You know what I mean? You got 2 weeks, and somebody's going to be psychoanalyzed again by a couple of people who aren't qualified to be psychoanalyzing anybody. It's time for the cheap shot. The parting cheap shot of the day. Johnny Manziel encapsulates this fully. What I want to do with the cheap shot is just keep an eye out for the low blows that happen in sports, and they happen frequently, and I've talked about them sometimes on the show. I decided to just give them their own segment. The parting cheap shot. I don't know if this is going to be like a daily thing or a weekly thing. Probably a weekly thing because it's probably harder to figure out like who's giving out low blows every single day. But I'll see if I can work it, right? So here's Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel sends a final tweet to President Trump on Twitter. Right? Like he gives Donald Trump some Twitter advice. Basically, he tells him to stop checking his inbox so much. And then Johnny Manziel deletes his Twitter. And I don't know if that's a forever thing. I hope it's a forever thing because it would go a long way to like just repairing who Johnny Manziel is as a person. But also, I'm not even saying that because it's Johnny. I'm honestly saying that because like social media is a kind of cancer. That's my controversial opinion of that, right? But anyway, Johnny Manziel offers the parting shot to Donald Trump. And you can take this two ways. Either Johnny Manziel leveled just a cheap shot at Donald Trump and then decided to exit the web, or Johnny Manziel decided to follow his own advice and just deleted his Twitter. It's like, you know what? As I'm doling out this advice, I realize that this isn't particularly good for anybody. I'm actually going to delete my Twitter, make the world a better place. And then he did. If that was indeed what he was thinking. Which I just think that's the coolest thing. That Johnny Manziel, of all people, who, by the way, I don't know if any other athlete has been caught with his pants around his ankles more times on Twitter than Johnny Manziel. Because Johnny Manziel had a tweet one time that was like, bleep College Station. I'm tired of all this stuff. I'm glad I'm leaving Texas A&M to go to the NFL and all this stuff. Because he got a ticket on campus one time, which I feel like everyone's gotten a ticket in college. So I don't know how it is that Johnny Manziel thought that he was exempt from that. But either that or Johnny Manziel was somehow afraid of the wrath of Donald Trump. Those are our only two options. And I honestly don't know which one is better. I like better the idea that Johnny Manziel tweeted, gave advice, and then decided to just follow it and leave the internet forever. But, Johnny Manziel on Twitter, he said, "Yo, POTUS, President of the United States, I know to stay away from the notification section on Twitter. That stuff will drive you crazy. Leave the country and left in hate." Then he deleted his Twitter account. Why does Donald Trump lose the notification? Does he read my tweets to me? You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and NewsRadio.com. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
Is off the pace and he is headed to the pit lane. Hours around the outside. Michael McDowell runs the right front tire. Here's Martin Truex to the bottom. Whitey's walking off to. Roger Snelly went 4 wide on the back straightaway. They're side by side for the lead.
Here at live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station. News Talk 1240. The voice of NASCAR. Travel expenses, funeral costs, cemetery lots, unpaid medical bills, probate costs, debts. Debts are due and payable upon death of debtor. Will these costs produce a burden and hardship on your loved ones? Who will be responsible? How will they handle them? These costs can total many thousands of dollars, only compounded greater with the grief of losing a family member. A safe and secure way to provide for these costs is with an affordable life insurance from Covenant Group Insurance and Financial Services. Covenant Group is a local company with local agents. Covenant Group still makes house calls. Covenant Group only represents A-rated companies. With many options to offer, Covenant Group can accommodate almost any budget. Great discounts for good health and plans available for impaired risk. Call today for a free, no-obligation consultation in the convenience of your home. Call Steve or Jada at 423-855-8484. Call today, 423-855-8484. You want more business. You want to increase your bottom line. You want to spend less on advertising, imaging your business, and general expenses. You need Trade Bank. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Trade Bank. Call now to get access to nearly 400 local businesses. Trade Bank. Call 877-2202. 877-2202. Trade Bank. You want to increase your cash flow, your competitive edge, attract new customers, and build a loyal customer base. You need Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call right now. 877-2202. When you join Trade Bank, you'll get the benefit of free advertising in our monthly magazine, TradeBank.com, emails, and mailouts. Join Trade Bank now and receive your Trade Bank debit card with trade credits to spend any way you want with our wide variety of Trade Bank partners. For almost 30 years, Trade Bank has been your voice for small business, a member of the American Bankers Association, and in good standing with you. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call now for a free consultation, 877-2202. That's 877-2202. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Choose Exit Realty Scenic City. Need to sell your house? Want to buy another house? Choose Exit Realty Scenic City. Our goals are simple. If you're selling, we get you the best price possible in the quickest amount of time with the least amount of hassle. Our agents are professional, competent, and courteous. We stay in touch every step of the way. If you're buying, we make sure you get all the information necessary to choose the right house in the right location at the best price. Exit Realty is one of the fastest growing real estate companies in North America. Our agents have extensive training, state-of-the-art technology, and full support that allows us to do the best job possible for you. If you're in the market to buy or sell, call us today. 423-551-EXIT. That's 423-551-3948. If you're an agent or considering a career in real estate, call us today. See what Exit Realty can do for you.
Think of markets falling so rapidly that there are no buyers. When the debt bubble pops, that's what will happen. The good people, as I call them, will tumble down into their own trap. Join me, David Tulis, each weekday at 9. Together, let's consider solutions to national breakdown. Where do you fit in? Can you preserve capital? Increase it even among family members and